Welcome to the Computer Repair Podcast, episode number 312. IT Boost, the one IT documentation system that brings it all together. I'm your host, Jeff Halash. This is our live show where we discuss the ins and outs of running your computer repair business. Our show today is brought to you by Instant House Call, remote support that is easy for you and your customers to use. It's a must-have tool with features like on-demand for your break-fix customers and unattended or managed services. You can do automatic repairs with the auto repair built-in software, and it will save you time and money when you're supporting your customers. Check it out for a free trial at instanthousecall.com. Use the offer code PODNUTS and also buy FreshBooks, the simple pain-free invoicing solution for freelancers and small business owners. For a 30-day free trial, just go to freshbooks.com/PodNuts. Enter PodNuts in the How Did You Hear About Us section. All right, let me introduce the co-host. We have John Dubinsky from the Maven Group. John, how you doing?
Jeff, I have you 5x5. I'm vertical functioning and ingesting nourishment, so life is good.
Awesome, man. Good to have you. And also we have Ali Peracha. Did I say that right, Ali?
That's correct.
Okay, from ITBOOST. Ali, how are you doing?
I'm doing very, very good. Enjoying the nice, cool evening in Dallas.
Oh, very cool. Yeah, we're enjoying the blustery winds of Michigan. Oh. All right,
so the wind chill is not below zero, so we're okay.
That's true. I was outside without a coat on, so for me, that's a win.
Yeah, dude, it's about higher 30s here, so.
Oh, okay. That's not too bad. Good.
Yep.
All right, so we're going to start off with some tips and tricks. And John, for some reason, wants to change things up. And he basically told me before the beginning of the show, just do what you're told, Jeff. So I guess John is in charge now, and I'm just going to do that. So here we go. So my personal tip for this week is turn your ringer off on your phone so clients can't call whenever they want. I hear way too many people out there just leaving their phone on all the time. And I'll hear all kinds of excuses of why they do that because my parents got to get a hold of me or my kids got to get a hold of me or all these different things. Well, in today's day and age with smartphones, guess what, folks? It's pretty easy. You can actually put notification or turn notifications off, which means your ringer, et cetera, and so forth during set times. Like mine goes off at 9 o'clock. So don't try to get a hold of me after 9 p.m. It's off. It's done. I probably should turn it on a little sooner than that, but we'll talk about that later. And it'll turn on when I'm up and ready to get the morning started. In other words, I don't need it on when I first get out of bed because I don't need all these notifications dinging me, bothering me when I'm trying to wake up, get my cup of coffee, go take a shower, whatever I need to do, and kind of clear the fog from my head in the morning. The other thing you can do is you can actually set up groups or certain individuals that will bypass those notifications if you need them, i.e., important family members that might need to get a hold of you in the middle of the night. So there are no more excuses of why you can't turn your notifications off. Because if my kids, wherever they're at in the world, contact me or my parents or my in-laws contact me, then I get that notification. It'll call me no matter what time it is, and that's what I want. Everybody else, clients included, yeah, leave me alone until I'm ready to talk to you. So that's one. Two, I'm going to say this, and I've been wearing a Fitbit for the last couple of years, and what I really like about it is it will actually look at your sleeping habits. In other words, it'll tell you your deep sleep, it'll tell you your light sleep, it will tell you your REM sleep. All these things are important to the whole sleep process. It'll also give you a chart, and John's going to have a link for that in the show notes, of the amount of time, the amount of percentage of time that you should be in each of these different 4 zones. And there's actually a no sleep zone too. So a lot of people will think, hey, I want to get 6 hours of sleep at night. This is the norm because most people will tell me they get 6 hours sleep. Here's the problem. If you're doing that from a time standpoint of, 12 o'clock midnight to 6 o'clock in the morning, that's not 6 hours. Matter of fact, at that time, yeah, depending on your sleep habits and how fast you can fall asleep and all that kind of stuff, and if you toss and turn or whatever, that might be 5 hours and 15 minutes of sleep. So you're not really getting 6 hours. Well, say by time we're getting 6 hours, but you're not, because we had this time where we will wake up for a few seconds and kind of roll back over or whatever. Sometimes you're aware of it, sometimes you're not. But the reality is, with your heart rate and all those things that the Fitbit can monitor, it will let you know. And I think it's pretty darn accurate because I can tell when I get more sleep, and I try to get a realistic over 7 hour sleep. That's my goal. Doesn't happen often, but that is my goal. So I know I feel a ton better when I get a minimum of 7 hours sleep versus getting 4, 5, 6 hours. It's a night and day difference. So you want to be able to take care of yourself as you in a lot of people when you're younger, you won't feel the effects as much, but I'm going to tell you as you get older, you will start to feel the effects. I don't care who you are. So just understand that what you could get away with in your 20s and sometimes even your 30s, when you hit your 40s, it's a whole different ballgame, right, John?
Yes, sir. I'm awake. I'm awake.
All right, those are my 2 tips for today. So, John, I'm going to throw it over to you, and then we'll let Ali pop in here.
All right, a little different tip than normal for me. Keep in mind that what I'm going to discuss is a sedative and not a sleep aid. So, most of you know, or a lot of you know, or if we've ever been at a conference together, you could probably know that I am a gin and tonic fan, and that is my favorite mixed drink of all. I'm going to put my favorite gin in the show notes, which is a gin called Iron Fish by a distillery called Iron Fish. But what all of you forget, and a lot of people forget about when you're mixing your drink, that about 3/4 of your drink, whether it's normal size or tall, is usually filled with something called tonic or a seltzer. So don't forget that if you use a really good gin, you should be using a really good tonic. So I'm going to have a list in there in my show notes for a tonic water called Fever Tree, and they make tonic water, they make seltzer, they make all sorts of stuff. But my tip is remember the importance of what you're putting in your drink along with your high quality alcohol. So that's my tip of the week.
Does that have something to do with this is what you do so you can get more sleep?
Nope. Keep in mind that alcohol is a sedative. It is not as a sleep aid. It will actually disrupt your sleep, and that's why I will not have any more of these after showtime.
Awesome, John. Appreciate it.
So a little bit of a life hack, a little bit different than my 12 technical tips of the week. So
awesome. Great to have it. All right, Ali, do you have anything that you would like to share with the audience, a life hack or tip or business function or something that you find interesting?
I'll probably talk about the new processor I got from my friends at Intel. It's the i9-9900X processor, and started building my own gaming PC, if you may. And one thing I did notice, I started off with a cheaper fan heatsink on it, and that did not work well for me, right? So my system was going berserk and shutting down and all that. So I actually had to get a decent water-cooled heatsink on it, and that made a life-changing experience on the machine itself. So my recommendation would be, if you do get the new i9 processors, make sure you spend some money on the heat sinks as well, especially water-cooled heat sinks.
Now, which brand did you end up getting?
I got the EVGA.
Okay. Awesome.
now let's keep in mind that this processor has a 20 meg cache on it and is running at 4.5 gigahertz. So man, that is bringing the horsepower.
Yes, absolutely. Very cool. That is a great tip, and I will agree with that. I've started using water-cooled CPU coolers probably 3 or 4 generations back. Probably 3 or 4 computers ago. I started using it, and it's a night and day difference. And to me, for a high-end regular air cooler versus a water cooler, there's not that much of a price difference. I mean, there is to a certain extent, but if you're getting high quality of both, again, pairing apples to apples, then it makes sense to spend a little bit more money. They last a lot longer and they work a lot better. And that's the same thing I'm using in my system. And it's super duper quiet, which is what I love, because I was the guy that back in the day would go into a LAN party and I plug all my stuff in. I had my big old CRT monitor. Yeah, for you kids that don't know, that's a big cathode tube white monitor that was, I think, all of 15 inches. And I would basically go in, I would turn the computer on, and the next thing you would hear was they were like, "Hey, who turned the turbojet engine on?" Yeah, I was that guy. Mine was so loud, it was ridiculous, and because I had little 80 millimeter fans that were just like, so Anyways, good times, but I don't do that anymore. I mostly game from the house because carrying all my stuff with me just does not sound fun at all. All right, let's go ahead and take a quick yeah, let's have a quick little ad. And that would be for this September. TechCon Unplugged. TechCon Unplugged is September 20th through the 22nd, 2019. It's in Grand Rapids, Michigan, right in John's backyard. Here's what you're going to get. You're going to get all meals and snacks at the event. We're going to take care of you. We're going to make sure that you're fed and happy, and so you can learn. You're going to get dinner at Dave and Buster's along with a game card to enjoy activities, if you will. If not, we're going to have a special room where we can all hang out to the side, eat to our heart's content, and talk amongst ourselves and learn even more outside the conference, which is what this is all about. That's what we're doing. And we also have good, wholesome IT content with community invested vendors. In other words, those community invested vendors that are actually interested in your bottom line so that we're interested in their bottom line and we can come together and work as a whole unit. In other words, we want to support the vendors so they stay in business for a long time. And we want the vendors to support us so that we can make our lives easier, save us some time, and make our lives between us and our customers a pleasure instead of a hardship. And a lot of times in today's day and age, support is one of those things that I believe is gold. If you can have a good support system with your vendors, then that's exactly what you need, and those are the ones that we stick with over time. So definitely go to techconunplugged.com. Get your tickets today. Tickets are $199. That covers, like we said, all the food and all of that, even the dinner at Dave and Buster's. Hope to see you there. And also, hotel rooms, $102 a night. Can't get any cheaper than that. Call, get your hotel room. Be there or be square. We'll all be there with, well, John might be there with bells on. I'll be there, and we'll have a good time.
Ding-a-ling-a-ling. Hey, well, we just went and walked through the conference room space this weekend and looked at the rooms. Looked at there is a full bar and a full restaurant right in the hotel as well. So, I mean, the amenities and the location looks like it's going to be fabulous for us.
Yes, it was really, really, yeah, it was very nice. Even from the entrance, walking in with a fireplace sitting area. This is going to be, it's going to be a conference like no other. And I can say that because we've been to several other different conferences, and this is one of those ones where we want to pull the community together, and we believe this is a way we can do it, where we can all chat, we can all talk, we can all have a good time and learn together, laugh together, have fun, and go home with good nuggets of information to take into our businesses. That's what our goal is. So, all right, cool. TechConUnplugged.com. Go there now. Get your tickets. All right, so let's see. Let's go into our main topic. And our main topic today, we're talking about obviously IT Boost. And IT Boost is, it sounds like it's about documentation, which I would say in this business is probably one of the hardest things that we have to wrap our heads around in order to get that proper documentation, the things that we need to make our lives easier. But before we go into all that, Ali, can you tell us your background story, how you got started in the technology field, and why create something like IT Boost, and how has it benefited you?
That's a great question. My background, right, came to the US back in 2004, just as I was turning 21. I started my career as a senior software engineer at a tech startup here in Dallas. And then a year later, I left technology and went into fashion industry, right? So imagine that. And I did that for a couple of years. And back in 2008, I came back into technology and joined a large IT franchise as a senior systems admin and worked there for a couple of years. And in these 2 years, I also got my MBA from University of Dallas. So I was quite busy back then. Um, I was right after my MBA, I was offered a job, or I was offered to become a partner at a startup IT practice, right? So they were just break fix um, company here in Dallas. And in the first 6 months, I focused on transitioning that break fix IT business into a true MSP and converted all our hourly customers into managed recurring revenue contracts, right? Sorry, monthly recurring revenue contracts. And as an MSP, starting in 2010, we doubled our revenue every year, right? And we were very, very successful here in Dallas. In 2014, our MSP was also in the top 50 MSP mentor list, right? So that was one of the things that we achieved. But we focused on efficiency, right? So as we grew 100% year over year in revenue, our profitability stayed about at 24%, right? So as we added more customers, we didn't really see a huge increase in our profitability, which was quite alarming, right? So we were just adding a lot of work and headache and all that, and the bottom line numbers were the same. So we started focusing on improving our internal processes and procedures to optimize profits and efficiencies and customer uh, retention on all that, right? So our first initiative was to adopt ConnectWise and LabTech at the time as our main PSA and RMM. We were using other products before. And then I started focusing on actual technicians and the work they do, right? So I sat down with our 16 techs at the time, and for the first few months, I found out that our biggest hurdle was unstandardization of information that we have about our customers, and moving from your PSA to your RMM to your backup systems to your AV systems your to our convoluted documentation systems that we had, right? We have data on OneNote and SharePoint and Word document and people's heads and their sticky notes and whatnot, right? So that was our biggest problem that we found out. So this decreased our efficiency, right? So the more platforms we were using as we adopted more systems and more automated systems for our managed services, it took longer to troubleshoot an issue because our techs were just looking for information. They would put the customer on hold and they would go into different systems trying to find information. And I recognized that these were the major factors that were eating up our bottom line profits, right? So we started exploring multiple documentation systems that could help our techs more than help me as an owner. And in the next 2 years, we started, truly adopting one system, right? So let it be SharePoint, let it be OneNote, and we migrated from one system to another, if not twice a year, at least once a year. We took about a month and a half or so to migrate our customer document to another system, and we didn't really feel that they gave us the options that we needed. So the tipping point was the acceptance that none of the other documentation systems out there did anything good for us, right? I mean, yeah, they as far as documentation is concerned, yeah, you can do anything, right? But it didn't really help us grow the business. So we reached out to multiple documentation systems at the time, and we asked them for feature requests, right? Things that we all do when we use applications, and none of them listened, right? And then the major tipping point was in 2016. I came back from IT Nation. 2015, I came back from IT Nation back in Dallas, and I was sitting down with my um, business partner, and he was my college friend as well. His name is Omar, and he's in Pakistan. And we just started drawing dashboards on, Paint and MacBook Preview, right? So just very rough images, and that was the basic epiphany that, hey, if we got to do it, we got to do it ourselves, right? So we got a very small team on board. We started development in March 2016. We launched for pre-beta at IT Nation 2016. So just in 6 months, we were ready with our pre-beta, and we got a few customers signed up just so they can test this beta system and all that. We launched again back in 2017, Automation Nation, and then we publicly released the application in November of 2017 at IT Nation. So just, what is ITBOOST, right? ITBOOST, like you said, Jeff, it's that one IT documentation system that we as an MSP really needed, right? And it brings together the documentation, passive management, customer feedback, and along with BI, right? So we bring in business analytical data in from right now ConnectWise, but we plan on adding more data sources to it. We also have dashboards for backup systems, so the techs don't have to go to another portal to check that. And right now, ITBoost is the most integrated documentation platform for ConnectWise manage, automate, control as well. You can initiate remote control sessions directly from ITBoost. We also support RTAS, SolarWinds and Central, and many other PSAs that we're working on, including voice over IP, right? So, like I said, I sat down with my techs to figure out where that disconnect was, and that was finding information, right? Troubleshooting, it can be a password issue, it can be an exchange down issue, right? So that's just a whole lot of different things that we go through daily on a daily basis. But that simple task of understanding who's calling you, where that person is calling from, their assets, at a single glance, right? That's the biggest value add that we had when we got our system up and running. We integrated with multiple voice over IP providers, and whenever a customer called us, we knew who it was, where the customer was calling from, tickets that the customers opened up, assets, right? Computer, workstation, desk phone, printer behind their desk, all that information on that one screen. So now we just cut down about 15 minutes of discovery call that we did with the customer, right? So that's with our call pop. And right now, IT Boost is priced to deliver to deliver the highest ROI and the lowest total cost of ownership for all IT partners, right? Our pricing is very user friendly, especially when you go in and stack up multiple platforms, right? Not just documentation, but you add BI over it, you add even customer feedback over it, right? So the cost in the market, right, triples to what we have right now. So right now, we also integrate with MX Toolbox, right? So we bring in all the live domain information. We aggregate and display critical data, which simplifies solution and service management. And it also drastically increases efficiencies, which in return delivers a better customer satisfaction, right?
That's awesome. It's a great explanation, and I think the hardest thing with documentation nowadays is the number one, documentation is only as good as the information that you put in there. But it sounds like you
Definitely.
guys have really integrated a lot of different systems to make it basically come to your fingertips when you need it.
Yeah, absolutely, right. I mean, you can go buy $100,000 system, but unless you're ready mentally to actually do the work, it's not going to do anything for you, right? So, like the biggest question that we have from our partners, and I talk to hundreds of MSPs weekly, right? It's just because I do the onboardings personally, just because of my history with this industry, I can connect to people. I can really understand the challenges that they had and uh, all the betterments that I did for my MSP, I can, I can actually talk to my partners about that as well. So, I mean, they come to me and say, hey, we want to adopt the system, but we don't have time for technicians to put information in. If that is your scenario, please don't even consider a documentation system. Not just us, but any documentation system you go to, you have to put the time in. And like I previously said, whenever we moved from one documentation system to another as an MSP, we spent a month and a half, at least 4 to 5 techs moving data in. And another thing that really helps you with is standardize your data, right? You'll find so much information that you've missed in the first or the second runs of data that or documentation that you do for your customers. And when you really do it right, you'll find a lot of ghosts in the closet. You'll find those switches that are connected, interconnected under someone's desk that you never knew about before. So, I mean, yeah, so it definitely helps to keep, clear your mind up first, right? Create a plan of action and then execute on that. Take one customer, migrate your customer over to that, make sure their documentation is complete, and then with a standardized documentation system like ITBoost, it'll make your life easier because now you have all the templates that you need that you created for, let's say, your biggest customer. and every other customer will kind of fall under that same template.
And so basically what you have to do is you really have to bite the bullet, at least one time to get all the information that you feel you need. And I think when it comes to documentation, it seems like this is an ever moving target. I don't know why I'm using guns and ammo analogies right now, but anyways, the point is probably because you're from Texas. So the point is, if you have all this information and what you discover is you're missing some things as you're growing your business, and you figure out, hey, I need to add some other things in. Well, obviously, if you have a base template to go from, it's probably easier to add that stuff later down the road than to go, hey, where was that spot in my Word document that I needed to put that piece of information?
Absolutely. Yeah, definitely. And one thing, one major reason why partners are attracted to IT Boost is because of us as a company's receptiveness of our partners' feedback and their requests, and not just on the product requests, but they come talk to us about their business questions. Hey, because we kind of help them on business transformation processes as well. Basically help them in any vertical that they want us to help them in, right? Especially when I'm on the phone with them, I just kind of open my heart up and just talk to them, and talk to them about my experiences. And we also custom develop the requests that people do, right? So if it's a large MSP and they have a certain process and they have certain views of data, we actually do custom development for them, because we don't want, basically, when as an MSP, we tell our customers, hey, don't conform to an application's features, right? Find an application that works for you and your requirements. So that's what we help them with as well. And majorly because that is why I'm sitting here with IT Boost, because none of the other vendors were listening to me at the time and our requests about that single pane of glass, single dashboard that we wanted, a simple feature like remoting into a PC using Screen Connect, right? So all the hooks are there. Why just don't enable that into your application, right? So we listen to all the partners. We did try to deliver exactly what our partners want.
That's great.
And I would add to that too, and you kind of touched on that, Ali, that there's a lot more than just maybe discovering the new equipment. I mean, we want to talk about tracking things like warranties. We want to talk about things like tracking domains, SSL certificates, all this other stuff too that can become, if you're just focusing on one thing like tracking hardware, it might be pretty easy to do that if you're a small MSP in a spreadsheet. But once you start adding all these other variables, and then you try to track them consistently and precisely across several different customers with a spreadsheet, that can become very confusing. So,
yep, correct.
And I think a lot of times when we're looking at the documentation, and maybe we've started off with, is it's the same thing John was saying. You get these humongous documents that you're looking at, and you're trying to figure out, okay, wait a minute, where was that certain customer? Where was that certain thing that they have? And it doesn't work real well for the long haul. So that's a good point, John.
I have a question, Ali, if I may, about IT Boost in general. I'm not a user at this point. I've sort of poked the beast a couple times, and I'm actually looking for something maybe to migrate my custom documentation system to. But with the things, does IT Boost allow maybe more proactively? So I set up a template to track a certain thing for a customer, whatever that may be, maybe their domain or maybe a piece of hardware. Does IT Boost have a system where it says, hey, you don't have this information for this customer, you need to get it?
It depends on the scenario, right? If I have an asset which is coming in from a PSA or RMM, it already is an IT Boost. If it's a domain, you're adding those domains, and we're working on a process where we create those domains automatically coming in from any asset that you have in ConnectWise as well. And a possibility with bringing that in with integrating with LineGuard, right? LineGuard is an automated document asset retrieval application out there, and they're integrating with GoDaddy, right, and Source. So that's going to help us bring those devices in and those domains in. So we start tracking the domains and SSLs automatically. But for a customer, not right now. Maybe that can be part of our workflow automation rules that that we are right now designing within ITBoost, where you set up a policy that a customer doesn't, if the customer does not have, let's say, an ISP added, send a notification out to a Slack channel or create a ticket, right? So we are working around those lines to see what we can do. Again, once we develop our workflow automation, you can assign and create any workflows that you want, even in a field. So if you add an asset and that asset is missing a certain thing, right? Our workflows would allow you to go in and notify you, right? And keep bugging you, hey, this information is missing on that particular asset, or that complete asset is missing for a customer. So hopefully we can finalize that plan. Again, it's in a very early design stages, but we want to make sure that we do it right, rather than just create a normal workflow and doesn't work all the time, and then we have to go and change the process. So we're trying to build that platform first, and then we're going to start adding stuff over that.
Very cool. Thanks.
Now, when it comes to documentation, in your experience and what you're seeing in IT Boost, because I'm sure you're gathering lots of information from that because it helps make the product better. What would you say when somebody is onboarding a client? It could be a simple client, or it could be a 5-person office or whatever. It doesn't really matter. But how much time are they spending entering that information on average? Because what you said at the beginning, where a lot of people are saying, hey, my employees don't have time to input that information. They're putting out fires constantly. It's like, how much time does it really take once the templates and everything are already put together, and all you've got to do is take those spots and input that information?
If you send a technician out there to onboard a customer themselves, they'll go in, and again, like you said, there's a lot of fires. They may get emails, and customers' email servers down. They got to stop and focus on other things. If they're going into a customer to onboard them without an action plan, they'll get distracted, right? Either distracted by external factors or their internal employees. Hey, John, can you help me do this, right? Hey, my mouse isn't working right. Can you help me fix it? While you're here, let's do this as well. My policy on onboarding customers, even before we started working on IT Boost, was to have a template. We had Excel, basically PDF files that our techs would just go and write on them. And when we had an onboarding scheduled with a customer, we will not do anything else for them unless there's already a request and another technician needs to go out there. So the onboarding is done dedicated in that time, usually even after hours as well, right? So we can really focus on the technology that the customer has. And if you can find all the ghosts in the closet early on, and do a good assessment of your client network, you will be more profitable because you will have all the information you need to either troubleshoot a customer or fix the issues so they don't call you, right? So in the short term, do not focus on the distractions. Focus on the job at hand, which is you're onboarding that customer. If you have, depending on the size of the customer, we had a policy, hey, if it's a 10 user customer, if it's a 30 user customer, spend this time out there, right? And they would only be focused towards that. And we would be very clear with our customers that, hey, we're not going to do anything else. If there's anything else, let's schedule that out and we'll send either someone else or, we'll do it later. But if you do that onboarding correctly, the ongoing support for the customer becomes much, much, much easier, right? So follow a standard, follow a template, right? And once you have those templates, it's all about going in, hey, okay, well, I need to find my DNS, DHCP servers. Let it be a server, let it be a router. I need to go find the printers. I need to document their MAC addresses, their IP addresses, maybe of course, their model numbers and all that, the desk phones, the phone system. Take pictures of the customer closets, and we would just take a ton of pictures. We would even do a walkthrough of video recordings as well. So if a new technician needs to work on it, we could tell we could tell the person calling in for support, hey, go here, turn right, and it's the device is right there. Just because we would go and visualize all that information, we would put that in the documentation system. It just made so much, it just made life so much easier for us to go and support customers at a massive scale, right?
That's awesome, because a lot of times they say a picture is worth 1,000 words, and that is absolutely true. Because how many times do we call the customer up and say, Hey, just unplug the red wire. Which red wire? Wait, which closet is that in?
Yeah,
And I don't want to, Ali mentioned it, but I don't want to breeze over it. I mean, good documentation will pay itself back in the time you invest in it 10 times over.
yep,
Because one, you will fix problems faster than you ever could without poor documentation. So you'll have less time invested in any of your triage or repairs. Not to mention that it allows you to be much more proactive as well.
absolutely.
You're only as good as the information you have, right, John?
Garbage in, garbage out.
That's it. So no, I like it. It's good. So Ali, what are some of the other things that IT Boost can do for us from a standpoint of making our lives easier, saving us that extra time in all those and above?
Yeah, so going beyond documentation, we integrate with backup providers. Right now, we do Crash Plan, but we've got data that we're working on, and it's coming out very soon. We're working on Veeam Backup, Acronis and Tronus would be after that. Storage Craft would be the third system that we work on, and just having that information in one system rather than the text logging into another portal, trying to find that machine, or logging into a machine remotely to find out, if the data was backed up or not, just waste time. So, and same thing applies for antiviruses and anti-malwares, and we plan on working on those as well towards the end of the year. We'll integrate with WebRoot, for example, right? So any provider that gives us API access, we are willing to work with them to get that integrated within IT Boost, and not just to bring in a simple textual uh, data, right? We build out beautiful dashboards, right? Sexy dashboards, right? So if it's nice to look at, it's easy to work on as well.
Okay.
And so that's that's talking about the dashboard. We also do our own customer feedback that's built into the system, so you don't have to go to another provider to have that, and yet have another uh, provider that you're paying, and then another window that you have opened up. So on our customer dashboard that you go to, right? So we've got these widgets that show the company information and the assets there, the tickets open and closed. Your domains and warranty expirations. We also have a feedback widget on the right side as well that shows the customer satisfaction score, the net promoter score, along with customer effort score, right? So just keeping that in mind whenever we go into that customer, we know if they're happy, if they're unhappy, right? What takes them off, and all those other things that really help us in really understanding that customer and their heartbeat, right? So basically, uh, if they're negatively impacted, we can put more effort in, right? Techs can put more effort in to turn around their experiences in the past, because that's a signal of possible churn, right? And we don't want churn.
Now, how does that feedback actually work as far as how can the customer put the information in when they're wanting to leave feedback on that particular IT provider?
Yeah, it's actually very easy. So within our system, you would go and create a template, and that template, you can have unlimited templates. Within those templates, you also have the option of adding questions if you want to, like promptness and helpfulness and all those other things. Overall experience and all that. So our feedback work in two parts. One part is the smiley faces, right? So 1 through 5, we've got happy to sad face or happy to angry faces. Uh, and the partners have the option of including questions if they want to. If not, then the customer won't see that. So basically, you would create that template. You would take an HTML snippet and add that into your PSA, right? Into the email template of your PSA. It doesn't have to be ConnectWise or RTask. It can be any other PSA that you're using, as long as you can create email templates out of that. So when a customer gets a closed ticket notification or completed ticket notification, our smiley faces are in there. Um, and when the customer clicks on any smiley face, we already grab that reaction from the customer. And then another page opens up, especially if you requested for questions as well, right? So they can be one, how was your overall experience, and put your comments in there. Or it can be a bunch of questions, right? It can be 10 questions on that page. Customer goes through them. As soon as they hit next, they get a thank you page, and all that data comes back into our system, and we show that information in either on our customer dashboard, the feedback dashboard, or the customer dashboard.
That is really cool, and I like the idea of basically doing the smiley faces and kind of a good, better, best, worst, so on
Yeah,
and so forth,
of
because it's
course.
just easy, right? It's hey,
Yeah,
click on this, and there you go. No, I was not happy. I was sad.
yeah, exactly.
Oh. All right, so I mean, obviously, you guys are you're. It looks like you're constantly iterating on new things and trying to figure out where the next place to go is, and in making it that all inclusive single one pane of glass that everybody wishes for in the industry. And so, um, is you've started to build this product and kind of move it forward, have you found that it's been fairly easy to integrate with other people, or is it constantly a back and forth? Everybody's trying to figure out, how do we best work together?
And that's a great question, right? And that's the biggest hurdle of us working with other partners is we can be as good as the data they provide to us, right? We were lucky enough that we were using ConnectWise, and their APIs are awesome, right? They have a very open system, a lot of good documentation, so we didn't really have trouble integrating with your ConnectWise Manage, ConnectWise Automate, ConnectWise Control. But as we start moving into other platforms, I'm not going to name them, but as we moved on to them, we realized that the developer access that they had in their system is not that good, right? So even if it's a huge company, they have limited um, options for us to pull information in, right? And as IT Boost, our vision is something different. We just don't want to bring in configuration details and again very textual data. We don't want to really do that. But sometimes we are put in a corner and we can't really do anything because uh, we can't grab that information from the different systems, right? So and I think that industry is changing, and other vendors are realizing that API access is huge, right? So companies like Avik and MindGuard and products like Office 365 and Meraki, their developer platforms are really awesome, right? So the MSP side of things really need to adopt that practice as well, invest in getting their open APIs out there as well. And talking about open APIs, we don't have our open APIs yet, but we're working on them as we speak. So once we get them done in the next maybe 3 months or so, we've already started talking to a lot of partners about either us doing integrations for them or between the two systems, or them doing the systems, because a lot of partners have requested them, right, that they use IT Boost and they want that particular company to integrate with IT Boost.
Okay. Oh, that's good, and it's interesting to see the uh, just the groups out there. Obviously, it would be best for everybody to work together, but sometimes that's always a little bit harder. And from our standpoint on the outside looking in, we see it's like, hey, why can't you just do this, this, and this? That should be easy for you to do. You're a coder. It's like the people go, well, you're a computer guy, so you should know how to fix that peach tree or QuickBooks or whatever. It's like, wait a minute. No, I know nothing about that. That's not my wheelhouse, not what I do. I'll figure it out, or I'll use the support efforts from QuickBooks or Peachtree, and we'll get it figured out that way. But I don't know everything. And if I did, my head would be bigger than it already is. And that's not a good thing. Ask my wife, she'll tell you. And so
Hey Ali, on the knowledge base editor, I'm just looking through the features page and all that. Obviously it looks like you can use a really nice WYSIWYG platform to build a knowledge base and all that. Can that documentation be shared publicly as well as privately?
Yeah, so you can have a public document or a private document or a public document. When you do a public document, you'll have a link that you can share with customers. We're also
Nice.
going to be adding the option for um, sharing a whole folder with the customer, right? So if you want to, you can share a whole folder, and that link, when they open it up, they'll see the folder structure and any documents based on the permissions that they have. If it's a public document, yes, they can, see all the public KB articles in there. But if they're, we also have the option of having our customers log into IT Boost portal, right? So we released our new functionality for granular permissions. And basically, it's rule based, right? So you create a rule more like a firewall rule, right? Rule one on the top, two, three, four, and you can have unlimited rules. And you can give multiple different access to your customers as well, both on the customer dashboard along with each item as well. Each record you can go in and add your permissions in there. So if you don't want to give, if you want to give them access to all the passwords but one password, you can go get that set up in the rule-based permissions.
Very good.
Very cool. Very cool.
I like it. All right, let's take a quick break and then we'll get back into our main topic. Our show today is brought to you by FreshBooks. Small business owners, it's time to be honest about how you feel when you're dealing with your day-to-day admin work. It's not fun. And I like documentation. Admit it, you can't stand it. It's a total grind. Yeah, we get it. The truth is, over 5 million small business owners felt exactly the same way until they discovered FreshBooks. FreshBooks is the dead simple cloud accounting software that's transforming how small business owners handle their paperwork. Using FreshBooks to create and send an invoice literally takes about 30 seconds. There's no formulas or formatting. No Excel spreadsheets, people. Just perfectly crafted invoices every time. Your clients can pay you online, which often means you end up getting paid a lot faster. Hey, we all want to be paid faster. There's a super handy deposit feature, so you can invoice for a payment up front when you're kicking off a project. Make sure they pay for that hardware up front. You're not a bank. Don't float that bill. FreshBooks can even show you whether or not a client has looked at the invoice you've emailed. Hey, did you get that bill I sent you? What bill? Yeah, the one you open up about 4 or 5 times. Yeah, that one. Yeah, can you please pay that? Thanks. Appreciate it. Have a nice day. This is only a fraction of what FreshBooks can do for you. You owe it to yourself to feel the full effect of FreshBooks on you and your small business. For a 30-day free trial, just go to freshbooks.com/podnuts. Enter podnuts in the How Did You Hear About Us section. I thank FreshBooks for sponsoring Computer Repair Podcast. All right, so going back into now, obviously, I think we were talking about, John brought this up before the show. Something we discovered was there is some sort of university or something, right, John?
Yeah, Ali. I'm reading an article here on Digital Journal about ITBOOST, ITB University.
Yes, so we've been working on a university as well, and it's more about training materials, right? So we'll add training material every month. Right now, I think we'll have when we launch, we were planning to launch it February. I think it's going to go up till March because we're finalizing that courses in there. So we'll have courses, we'll have lessons, we'll have quizzes, not just on documentation, but on other yes, service delivery, your sales, your operations, right? So it's more of a business transformation help that we're going to provide our partners. Just because I mean, I get asked a lot of questions, right? And I think it's better that we add that into more university-like setup where people can just go and take a quiz, right? I mean, take a lesson and then give a quiz, and eventually we'll have that integrated within IT Boost, also with gamification as well, so your employees and your techs can have different badges and different skills, along with documentation courses that we want to provide as well.
That's cool. I want the documentation king badge. That's what I want. So obviously that's great. And here's the other question I have with that also is a lot of times when somebody's trying to think of the documentation that they need for their business. So obviously we talked about templates and different things that are in your product. Do you have some like base templates to go for the guy like me that knows absolutely nothing about documentation? And I know I need to put certain things down for my customers, whether they be residential or managed services, et cetera. What do you guys have a base template to where I can go, hey, here's at least the basic information that I need to get started with, and then I can actually, make it add more stuff later.
Yeah, so we have about 26 templates that you can go in and download and import basically. And you can import them multiple times and play around with it. We've got an awesome custom template builder where you can go select your own columns and rows and bring fields in and make them primary, make them required, put your tooltips in there, for other techs to understand them easier. Once you save that and you start entering data into it, you can go always edit that again, add more data, add more fields into it. And once you go back into that old record, you will see those new fields added in there as well. So 26 templates to start off with. And then, we are also working on providing a baseline sample data for customers, because one thing that we hear a lot on my onboarding calls is they just don't understand what truly standardized documentation is, right? So they try to mimic their SharePoint or their Word and Excel folder structure, which, please don't do that. If you have any questions, reach out to us, right? If there's any confusion, if you need help, we offer almost 24/7 support in the application itself. On the bottom right, we have our chat icon. Our response rate is about under 10 minutes. And we help in any way we can, right? Let it be bugs, let it be, hey, how do I do this? Hey, I'm trying to create this template for ISP or DNS or a weird checklist that I want to create, right? Help me with this in our either our support team or myself, because I monitor all the support stuff that comes in. I'll jump in and I'll recommend, or maybe even I'll schedule a Zoom meeting, right, to make it easier for both of us to understand what the client really wants, and then I can offer my suggestions that way.
That's great. And it's always nice to have somebody that's actually been in the trenches and been working with this stuff for real to actually implement a piece of software that's helped them in their business, and they're able to take the lessons they've learned and give it to others. And the wonderful thing about documentation is documentation can be so powerful that sometimes it's overwhelming. So I'm glad you guys got some base templates and stuff that people can basically look at and go, okay, here's the information. Plus, it sounds like you're willing to basically help your customer base, which, wow, that's like, I don't want to say unheard of because that's not true. We have a lot of nice vendors on here, but the reality is, it's nice to hear that somebody actually cares enough to, hey, we'll help you out. And
Yeah. So the transition is, I mean, we're offering a free 14-day trial. It was 30 days last week, up to last week, but we changed it to 14 days. And one of the major reasons why we did that is we realized that people, if it's 30 days, they'll leave everything to the last minute. I do that, right? And I've done that as an MSP. I've requested for it, adding more time on trial, and I still do that as ITBOOST. Again, we need products and tools, and I sign up and there's 100 other things that I have to do, and before I know it, I get an email, hey, your trial is about to be over, and I freak out. So we reduced that to 14 days because we want to give some urgency as well, right? That yes, you have a 14-day trial, try to use it, because then you get busy and you lose focus, right? Um, so in that 14 days, we offer a free onboarding call, right? So we offer free about 30 to 45 minutes onboarding call, depending on the customer. Um, and in that 30-minute call, we focus on how can you utilize the product, right? What are custom templates, right? We make sure that the integrations are correct. We listen if there's a bug or if there's a feedback they don't want to give us, right? We listen to them and we put notes and we take that to our DevOps team. But the main purpose of those free 30 minutes is to really help and sit down with a customer and understand their business and recommend the best suggestions that we can, and that in that short period of time. If they need more time, one-on-one onboardings or training or consulting, we offer that too, right? They're sold by the block hours. Think a block of 2 hours, right? That way we can really dig deep into their templates, right? So I've had multiple meetings with so many customers where I really analyze their documentation platform, right? Um, SharePoint, for example, SharePoint, you can have sites and you can have tables and you can have SharePoint set up into so many different ways. And I go look at each thing that they document about their customers, and I go and create the best possible scenario of those templates in ITBoost and how they can help, right? So we're doing the heavy lifting for the customer, right? Let it be a small customer, let it be a large customer. If you don't want to spend the time on it, we're willing to spend that time for you as long as we can understand your process.
you can't ask more than that. I mean, that's awesome to offer something like that.
And just so the listeners know, it looks like on a monthly plan, the pricing starts at $17 per user. So you got a good price point to start at. And that obviously there's some discounts if you play yearly and stuff like that. So
You say pay yearly or play yearly?
either for you, Jeff, either.
Yeah,
I
for
mean, IT Boost is so fun. You might as well just call it playing, right?
There you go. We love to play in our documentation. We love it.
you're on the plane. Yeah, for a mid-tier plan, which is plus, which gives you customer feedback in there as well, backup dashboard too. I mean, it's $27 without any discounts, right? Month to month, you can cancel anytime. And I mean, again, it's cheesy, but it's less than $1 a day. Come on, sign up, man. You know,
Well,
you
you
save
just
more
mentioned
money.
something too that I thought that was kind of interesting. If I kind of look at it, if you were looking at a customer feedback platform as well, I mean, there's no reason you shouldn't be doing documentation. So that's just kind of a given. But if you're looking at a customer feedback platform too, why not put them on top of each other? In other podcasts, and we're always talking about, trying to get to that magical single pane of glass. Although that's probably unreachable, it would be nice to have one product maybe to be able to handle both of those functions so that you're not jumping over. And it sounds like from our talk today, IT Boost might be able to provide you some more insight into other pains so that you don't have to go there as well to relieve other pains. See what I did there, Jeff?
I see that. That was awesome. You are so punny. It's hilarious.
Well, you pay me so much, I got to bring it to every show, Jeff.
We just had to bring the cheese up. That's all I'm saying. Oh man.
Hey,
So-
Lee, I mean, we're getting to an hour here, and I'm certainly not cutting us off because we can go as long as we need to or want to, as we usually do. Anything new and exciting coming to IT Boost soon? Besides the university, which sounds very cool, or anything else that you can talk about, or maybe new integrations that are right on the horizon?
Yeah, so we're working on about 20 more integrations, which is a lot of work. Again, backup providers, right? Focusing on the actual documentation flow, the workflow, talking about the documentation flow. We're working on that. APIs is going to give us huge potential of people even doing their import in, right? So if they want to write a script to bring data in from another vendor, another provider, another application that they're using, they'll have that functionality. Mobile app is another thing that we started working on, and then we put a pause on that, and then we've started that again. So it's gonna come out for both iOS and Android apps. But other than that, man, we just focused on continuing to improve our systems, to create as many feature enhancements and third-party integrations as we can. As you know, this will add value to all our partners' businesses, right? By reducing the number of screens that it takes to manage their customers' environment. Again, it's all about the customer. It's all about your bottom line numbers. We're all doing this to make some money, to put in our pockets by the end of the day. Overall, right, we are very nimble, we're very agile, we're guided by the mindset of our MSPs. Again, that is first and foremost. Again, that's coming in from my experience as being an MSP, and I would hate myself to go be what other companies, were when back in the day, before I started working through IT Boost. Um, Overall, we've removed all the barriers, right, of entry by offering a 14-day free trial, month-to-month plans, cheaper, not cheaper. I wouldn't say cheaper, but cost efficient, cost effective
There you go.
plan,
Yeah.
right? At $17, man. It's just $17 for core documentation. Start with that. You can always move up if you want to, right? Um, Again, we offer a single pane of glass for the four critically needed solutions. Documentation being the core, password management, customer feedback, and BI, and they're built natively into IT Boost. Uh, you know, we offer the lowest total cost of ownership, right? Just if you start adding and stacking up other applications together, you'll notice that you're going to be saving money. And again, right? So one thing I did mention early on that I sat down with my techs, right? So when I was doing that study with them of why we're not adding to our bottom line numbers when we're adding new customers. And as we added, 2 or 3 customers, we had to add a new tech, right? So our math was for every 200 machines we add, we had to add a tech, right? Just to provide that service that we wanted to give our customers, like first call resolution, right? So we didn't have a dispatch. We just, whenever they called in, we picked up a phone and we tried to resolve that issue right away. And, so we wasted about 15 to 20 minutes every call discovering information, right? Where we had to go discover information. And if you add that up, let's say if you have 10 techs and you're adding 15 to 20 minutes, uh, even 30 minutes a day, wastage. We're paying what, 60, 50, $60,000, including, their benefits and employer taxes and all that. You divide that, right? The math becomes very simple, right? For us, we were just throwing away about $260,000, just throwing away, yearly on this wastage. Just 30-minute wastage a day, causes a lot of uh, money that you're just throwing away. So I had a video that I shared in one of early on presentations where there's a Joker from Batman and he's just throwing money like that, right? So, and I felt exactly the same way, right? So again, documentation system, it's not sexy, right? There's a lot of work that you have to put in, especially if you want to do it right. You put the data in, you create those custom assets, you start documenting, and then you got to relate them together. You got to link them together, right? To offer the best possible solution when you're actually troubleshooting issues, rather than you finding, again, it's all about troubleshooting an issue and finding information, right? So we want to cut that time down. So if you invest more time in upfront, it will pay off very soon.
And I thought Ali hit on a good point there, guys. Not only if you have employees and reducing those costs, meaning of non-value added time, good documentation removes non-value added time and reduces those overhead and burdens costs. But even more importantly, maybe from my aspect, if you're a solo tech and you want to be able to get more done in the amount of time you have as a solo tech, good documentation increases the ability you have to create more billable hours versus wasted time. So keep that in mind as well. So, I mean, good documentation and the time saving it provides more value, thus more profit, thus more income, income then profit, than bad documentation or no documentation or the lack of documentation. Also, good documentation I can also would also suggest might be a good marketing tool for you as well. And a tool that you can use with your customers to say, hey, they might not understand the documentation you're providing to them, but it could be a good sales tool to say, hey, look at all this documentation. This is everything that I'm doing for you. I mean, it might be confusing to them when they see all these IP addresses, MAC addresses, passwords, SSL, DNS, domain registrations, and all that in one place. But it can be a good confidence booster for them that, hey, look at all this information I have. Should something happen to you as a solo tech, or if they want to switch businesses, which they would never want because we take excellent care of our customers. But it's also another tool for many aspects that documentation is good for you, good for your customers, and good for your bottom line.
Well said, John. All right, let's I'm going to let you guys gather up your lasting thoughts before we get on out of here, and I'm going to take another quick break, and then we'll end off this great show that we've had a lot of great information, and I've learned a lot, so I really appreciate that. If you'd like to support what we're doing here, I encourage you to go to patreon.com/computer repair podcast. And I want to thank our newest Patreon supporters. We just got 2 new supporters today. It's an amazing day. Sean Scott and Scott Clark. Appreciate that. And what this does is this gets you into the super secret Facebook group. Yes,
super secret.
Super secret with quotation marks. And we've created an environment where you can come in. It doesn't matter how new you are in a business. It doesn't matter if you've been doing this for 20 years, right, John? Because we all have questions that need answering.
So what are you saying?
I'm saying
where are you going with the 20-year comment? That's what I want to know.
Well, you're number one, you're old. Number two, I spent the last couple of days with you working, so it's we know.
Just want to be clear.
Exactly. What happened in the office stays in the office. Anyways, if you would like to be able to answer or ask a question or even be answering a question, we do it in a nice way where nobody is made fun of. We're not told, "Hey, stupid, you should know how to do that," or "Get out of the business, go, slam your trunk, go, deliver some pizzas," or whatever. We don't do that because everybody starts off at some point, and we want to be able to all the new businesses that are coming in and all the businesses that have a lot of years, literally probably hundreds of years of experience at this point with over 100. I think we have 109 people in this group. It's been a great time. It's easy. Ask a question. If people have answers, they give answers, and people are doing exactly what I want them to do, because if you don't have an answer, just shut up and move along, because there's no point in commenting on something you don't really have an answer to. Um, and so I like that. We don't get that everywhere. So, anyways, it's $1 a show. You're looking at $4 or $5 a month. Skip a Starbucks coffee and you'll be in. And, or Bud or whatever your drink of choice is. I guess Bud would probably be cheaper than that. Anyways, I want to thank all of our Patreon supporters for your continued support. And again, appreciate everybody for what you do. And it helps keep this show the way it's going. So better and better, right, John?
And we talk about all sorts of things in there. I just sort of closed out a backpack question. I was talking about, well, what's your favorite tech backpack? I'm a Briggs and Riley guy, and I think I beat this one to death last week, but we just kind of closed that out. And, it's cool to see like 20, 30 other guys or gals all post their backpacks in there and what they're carrying day to day. So that's cool. And, there's a lot of calls to help, can't figure this out. Have you seen this before? So we all try to help each other out. So it's just a cool place to be.
Yep, I agree. Thank you, John. All right. So, Ali, I'm going to throw it back over to you. Are there any things that we have not talked about today that you would like to talk about your products and services and things that you offer, or any other, piece of information that somebody would get something out of?
I think we've covered them all. My recommendation is get a trial. There's no commitment. You don't have to put your credit card in. It's 14 days free trial. We'll schedule an onboarding call with you, right? You don't like the product, you don't like the product, but we want to hear why you don't like it. We my initially, even before we had IT Boost, I would go and talk to customers about, what do you think your best documentation can be in your mind, especially at IT Nation and automation shows. I met hundreds of different people before I even started working on the product. So, and even now we encourage negative feedback more than positive feedback. We know we're good, but but I want to know why and what your opinion is truly, right? If there's anything that can help us be a better product, be a better company, be better at support, be better at just talking, right? Please let us know. Again, negative feedbacks are welcome. I do take them all to my team, and we figure out how we can make ourselves better, right? So free 14-day trial. We'll get you on the onboarding call. $17 a month for just basic plan, month to month. If you sign up for yearly, paid monthly, that's an option as well, where you get a small discount, or you can pay up front for the whole year. You get another discount over that as well. So if you have any questions, you can reach out to me at ali@itboost.com. Our website is itboost.com, and you can sign up for a free trial over there.
Awesome. And appreciate you coming out and sharing with us today. It's been great to have you. And I'll tell you what, I'm going to second that and say, you know what? Go out there, give it a shot. And matter of fact, I want everybody that's listening to the sound of my voice right now, I want you to blow up Ali's phone and just, make it so that so many people are calling him and interested in this product, because it's a win-win, right? It's 14-day free trial. You can't lose. Plus, they spend time with you. You're not even paying them any money, and they spend time with you. Where in the world do you get that?
Hey guys, I want to throw out there too. Last week we had the CEO of Pulseway RMM on the show. Now we have the CEO of ITBOOST. I mean, obviously this is guys that are committed to service providers like us, MSP providers like us. If they're willing to take the time on a Sunday evening to come out and chat with us and share what they have, I mean, those are the kind of people, not just companies, people we want to deal with. So. Yeah, give it a shot. I mean, if it doesn't work for you, that's one thing, but it sounds like we got a customer and an individual and a person that's got our back. So,
And
Thank
there
you.
is, I do have one question because I know on the website it from the chat room, and I'm sorry, Ali, I forgot to tell you about the chat room before. We usually have a chat room going during the show. One of the questions was asked about the 5-user minimum for the plans.
Yeah, so we applied that this past Thursday when we changed it from 30-day trial to 14-day trial, along with a minimum user count. Again, when we are working with partners, majority of our partners were, 4 or 5 partners. Um, and again, we're a for-profit company as well, right? So we want to make sure that we can keep the lights running on our side. But at the same time, when we're investing a lot of time with our partners, one thing we saw that you larger partners, they signed up for one tech user for a longer time when they're transitioning and all that, right? So I mean, again, that was a business decision. There are a few opportunities where we partner up with either ASCII group, or in this case, we can partner up with you, and you and I can talk off air about that as well. Maybe you can post a special that would help customers, right? People that are listening here, maybe they have their single man shops or their break fix companies, and we want to give them a taste of how, and good taste of how, proactive support managed services, right? So if they want to transition. So let's talk off air and see what we can do. We're willing to work. We're willing to listen. Um, and if you want to sign up for a trial, sign up for a trial, and we'll figure out a way to help you out.
All right, awesome. You heard it straight from the CEO, so it doesn't get any better than that. Appreciate that, and yeah, we'll definitely talk off air. And guys, everything will be in the show notes as far as links and the availability to find out more about the product, Ali's email address, and all that kind of stuff. So you can
Yes,
definitely
Jeff, I'm typing as fast as I can.
Yeah, John's doing his job. John, just shut up and just keep that.
Yes, head
Keep
down,
typing.
I'm on it.
So all right, so
Ali, I got one more question for Ali. Ali, I missed one thing in the documentation. You mentioned something called, is it called Line Guard?
Lion Guard, Liongard.
Liongard.
So big hello to my friends at Lion Guard.
Spell that one more. Spell that one. Lion as in roar.
Yes, Roar Lion, Liongard, Lion Guard.
Gard. Okay. Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, so they're a platform that discovers assets and information about those assets. So more like an agent that's sitting on your network and it's discovering different things. Your AD, your servers, again, it goes beyond what your RMM basically does.
very cool.
Very cool. Thank you.
All right, so Ali has already given all his contact information, and like I said, we will have that in the show notes. John, before we get on out of here, do you want to let people know where they can find you at, if they even care?
Jeff, what?
He's speechless. What in the world?
Yeah, CRP Group. Bye.
Thanks, John. Appreciate all you do, man. All right, come join us live for the Computer Repair Podcast every Sunday at 4 p.m. Eastern over at podnuts.com/CRP Live. Join in on a conversation by hanging out in the chat room. Lots of good conversation going on in there. You can send an email to podnuts@podnuts.com. Get your questions answered right on the air. Been a little light on those lately. Let's get those questions in or comments. No negative feedback. We don't do what Ali does. So just keep it nice. Or you can leave a voice.
Right? It's hard.
That's right.
Negative feedback, right? You don't want to call your baby ugly, but hey, we're willing to listen, right? That's the only way we can make the product better.
We do listen to every one of them. We just might not comment on every one of them. Or you can leave a voicemail if you want your wonderful voice right next to ours, and that's 734-335-1000. I want to thank everyone for listening and subscribing to the show. We'll see you next time on the Computer Repair Podcast.
See ya.